Hello and welcome to The Final Frontiersmen, a YouTube channel about all things Trek. I'm Bill and today is a special day. I am not alone for the first time out here in space. I'm joined with three of the most important people in my Star Trek life here, and I'm so honored that they can join us. Most of them you have seen frequently, so I know there's probably no surprises who's here, but for the sake of any new viewers, let's introduce everyone. But gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Not welcome to the, welcome back to the channel. You're always welcome here. Let's go around and just do our introduction. So we'll just go around the way it is on the camera. So first one clockwise from me is the project manager of Star Trek Adventures. But I don't think I could do the introduction justice like Michael can. Michael, could you just cut in and introduce our first panelist here?
Jim Johnson.
Thank you very much.
Hey, everybody. Jim Johnson, project manager and line editor for the Star Trek Adventures RPG and the Captain's Log solo RPG. Also the project manager on this little card game right here, Lower Decks Buffer Time. Super thrilled to be here with Bill, celebrating your 100th video episode, whatever you want to call it.
Whatever it may
Thank you
be.
for having me on board. So super excited to be here.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming. And next in the line, it's our previous announcer. There it is, Michael. Michael Dismuke, please introduce yourself.
Glad to be here, Bill, fellow super fan, Michael Dismuke. Of course, I'm a freelance writer for Star Trek Adventures RPG, lead writer and designer for Captain's Log solo RPG. See, I'm not on my show. I'm totally off my game now. But because I was thinking how happy I am that fans like us, Bill, can actually do amazing shows like this. So congratulations on 100 episodes. That's huge. And I know that you are a huge influencer in the Star Trek Adventures community. So we really appreciate this.
Thank you very much. That's a very odd word, influencer. So I don't know how I feel about hearing that. But thank you very much, and thank you for being here. And last, but certainly not least, a man who has joined me more than anyone, I believe, on this channel. Even my former co-host, maybe. It's running neck and neck with the number of times you've been here. But welcome back, Al Spader, as it says.
Hey everyone, Al Spader. I'm a freelance writer for Star Trek Adventures. I was the lead writer on the Federation Klingon War Tactical Campaign. I'm also a game designer outside of Star Trek. I worked on the Sentience 2D20 game and the Once Upon storybook role-playing game. So, Bill, I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me. I do feel like we get to chat a lot, and you're always supporting me and all of my efforts in Star Trek and outside of Star Trek. So 100 videos is a big deal. So I'm really proud of you, man.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much. And yeah, like I love Sentience. If you any new viewers, if you haven't seen the actual play that we have on this channel, it's featuring Michael and Al, of course. Sadly, Jim was not able to be there that day, but there is a video if you want to check out Sentience. So please look for that. It will be linked in here. But as everyone said, this is the 100th video. I was saying before we started, I don't know if I could call it an episode because there's just random series and different playlists on this channel, but it's the 100th video as far as counting is concerned. So we're doing a little bit of a celebration, and since the really the main focus of this channel and kind of what got it started, even though it wasn't the subject of the very first video of the channel, was Star Trek Adventures. So I want to spend today this video talking about basically the evolution of Star Trek Adventures, like how it started and what it has become over the years, including I would like to hear from today's special guests how they all got involved with this amazing game. And before I forget, there will be a giveaway that is going to be very useful for anyone new to the game, or even new to role-playing, or new to 2nd edition. You might want to stick around. It's a trivia contest, so you have to do a little bit of Star Trek legwork if you're not familiar with everything. Or actually, I don't know what kind of legwork, because I don't know what the questions everyone's going to ask is. But there will be some random questions, so stick around. We got some fun things on the way, but let's kick it off. As I said, the history and the evolution of Star Trek Adventures. I think the best person to kick this off is, of course, Jim Johnson. I mean, you are the keystone of this whole operation here that brought us all together. So, can you tell us how, well, not just even the game got started, but how did you get involved with Star Trek Adventures and Star Trek role playing?
Oh, there's a couple good questions in there. Which one do I want to do first? Let's talk about the game
Let's do
first.
it. Yeah.
So my understanding is in somewhere in 2015, 2016, Chris Birch, president of Modiphius, approached Paramount for the license to do a Star Trek RPG, because at that time, Decipher had been the last company to do a official Star Trek RPG, and they folded in 2003, 2004, somewhere in there. And so there was a long period of time between the early 2000s, I guess the early aughts, and the mid-teens, where nobody was doing a Star Trek RPG, at least that we know of. I mean, there might have been one in development, but I don't think I've heard of anything like that. So I know that Nathan, the system developer for 2D20, started working on the game in January of 2016. And a friend of mine, Jason Dural, he was the line manager for Conan at the time, and he knew that Modiphius had picked up the license to Star Trek. So he and I go back a long way, working with Decipher on the Lord of the Rings RPG, and we maintained contact over the years. And he emailed me one day in mid 2016 and said, "Hey Jim, Modiphius has the license for a new RPG that I think you would be interested in. I can't tell you what it is because you're not under NDA yet, but I highly recommend you clean up your resume and send it over to Chris." And he signed off that email by saying "Live long and prosper." So I kind of got the sense that there was maybe something going on. And from there, Chris brought me in pretty quickly to do some writing on the core book. And that was right about the same time Sam Webb got hired by Modiphius as well to be the line manager on Star Trek, plus other things. And so under Sam's guidance, we kicked off the core book, and I just rapidly did the freelancer thing and made myself invaluable as a writer, editor, proofreader, manager. The first major project I was given was taking management of the living campaign that we were doing at the time. I kind of took on the management of the next generation piece of it, and Sean Merwin managed the original series piece of it, and he and I worked together to kind of bring out. I think we ended up doing 16 or 17 one-shot adventures, but we were also developing a storyline that Dayton Ward and Scott Pearson had concepted. They were brought on board early on by virtue of me knowing them through Star Trek fiction writing over the years. And then a couple of years of really working hard with Sam to work on pretty much every Star Trek product between 2017 and 2019. At Gen Con in 2019, at that point, Sam was ready to move on to bigger and better roles within Modiphius, and that was going to leave a gap as a line manager for Star Trek. And I said, "Well, hey Chris, I've been doing this work, supporting Sam for a long time now, and why not take a chance and put me in the role?" And sure enough, he did. And I had no idea that it would be 5 years later, 6 years later, and still doing it, and still having a lot of fun with it. We successfully launched a second edition just this year, which was a huge success, and I have to thank all the fans for that, because if the fans hadn't responded to the game the way they had, there's no way we would have done a second edition. We probably would have been wrapped up with the game by now. But good news is that it's healthy, strong. Everyone I've talked to, for the most part, has really liked second edition. So I think we've got some good legs under us, and sky's the limit from here.
Yeah, yeah. Well, second edition is just, well, the whole thing, first edition and second edition, they're not that different from each other. It's cleaned up, but it's basically same game. So if you're coming from first edition, it's really easy to slip right into second edition. But there's a reason why the game is lasting. Like I would like to hear from everyone, especially, but I tried playing some of the older Star Trek role-playing games, and I love the books. I love reading through the books. I love the idea, but I never felt like I was playing Star Trek. I never felt like it was capturing what Star Trek felt like to me. And that was completely opposite when I was reading Star Trek Adventures, the original core rulebook. I just remember smiling like halfway through it as I'm reading the mechanics, not even about like the lore, and it just occurred to me that, like, this I didn't get to try, but this is going to do what all the other games could not do. What did you all think when you first encountered STA?
Yeah, I had never played any of the other Star Trek games. So I played other RPGs, but never played any of the other Star Trek games. So I picked it up because of the Living Campaign. It had the
Mm,
free modules. I happen to have some 2D20s laying around, some
yeah.
D6s laying around. And so I got some of my friends to jump online and give it a try with the Living Campaign. And so I had, yes, it felt exactly like playing a Star Trek through a Star Trek episode. And I had no idea that previous ones did not. So I was instantly hooked. And I'm the kind of person that when I get into an RPG, I go full board. In fact, while I'm playing that RPG, I rarely play anything else. It's just how I get engrossed. And of course, now we are 5 seasons into our game and something like 60 something episodes of just our group's game. So really fell in love with it. And as I usually do with anything I do, I write about it. So I started blogging about it. And then it was from that blog that Jim Johnson reached out to me. I always say he was only trying to get me to slow down because, in his own words, I was producing more stuff than CBS that could get through approvals with CBS. So great tactic, Jim. You know, it changed my life. But that's how I got involved with writing for the game in 2020. And he's been keeping me very busy. I'm like 20 plus publications in now so far.
Wow!
It's been a wonderful,
Congratulations.
been a wonderful trek.
Yeah, a wonderful track. Yeah. Oh, talk about celebrations though. 20 publications, Michael. That is good. Not even just role playing too. I mean, you're writing Star Trek fiction now. That is.
Yeah, again, funny enough, Jim had Dayton Ward come on the show, and then he introduces you to somebody, and someone else introduces you to somebody, and that's pretty, that's the Star Trek world. And if you can deliver on deadline, keep a high quality, confidentiality and NDAs are respected. It's been really nice. So yeah, I was able to write a feature in Star Trek Explorer magazine. Sad to say, it's going the way of the Borg, but for now it's in a hiatus.
Yeah.
But that, and then it's opened up some other opportunities, which has been really good.
That is so cool. Yeah, and congratulations. That is awesome. And of course, I'm going to try to make sure I link to all this stuff down below in the episode description. So if you want to find Michael's work in Star Trek that appeared, the story, it was awesome. So that will be linked down below. And I believe it's now in the collected volume.
It
Is
sure
that,
is,
has that
yeah.
been released already?
Yeah, I know
Oh.
I've got my early copy, but
Oh,
they are being shipped later this month. They
okay.
should be being shipped in the US.
Okay, so maybe by the time this airs, it might be out. So yeah, I'll be able to link to it. That's awesome. Thank you, thank you. And Al, would you like to jump in now? It's time we hear from you.
So similar to Michael, I'd never played a Star Trek role-playing
Okay.
game. I did play Starfleet Battles a lot
Mm-hmm.
and Star Trek HeroClix a lot. Like that was a couple of friends of mine really into wargaming, so we did that. I was in D&D Fifth Edition Adventures League
Oh,
stuff for like
yeah.
5 or 6 years, and I got into the community content program where you could basically create adventures for conventions and whatnot. That's how I met Sean Merwin, who I think eventually came on and helped Jim. I somehow I got an invite to the playtest for Star Trek Adventures. I don't remember if there was an open call or if it was from Sean Merwin or because he and I had spoken before. Um, but I remember getting that and signing up for it, and I couldn't find anyone to playtest with me, and it was demoralizing because everybody at that time just wanted to play Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah.
Um, so COVID hit, and it kind of put a block on everything, and people were looking for games, and I was like, well, I want to take a break from D&D. Let's go back to Star Trek Adventures. And that was we got a group together. We did a 10 episode arc, um, and I got involved with Tony Pye put together the Fathomless arc, which was the community campaign that's up on Continuing Mission. And I was doing some stuff on uh, what was it? Tabletop Simulator
Mm.
was where we would run our games. So it was even more than a virtual tabletop. It was like a full-on, like you had the table with all the equipment there in front of you. And so I was posting some screenshots of that, and of course Michael sees that and he's like, "What is this?" So Michael and I made a date, and I brought him in and showed him how to use it and whatnot. And then we tried to get Jim in to try to use it, and because Jim has an Apple, it wasn't working the same way
Yeah.
for the rest of us. But long story short, Michael got me onto a panel where we were just talking about how to GM. And we were talking about, like, I was bringing in some of my insights from what I saw in the D&D world and whatnot. And it was shortly after that that Jim Johnson said, "Hey, I've got these thing called mission briefs. You wanna check these out?" And you finish your work, you finish it early, you finish it, get it in where there's not a lot of editing to be done. And he just kept asking me back for more. So I think I'm right around that 20 mark as well, Mike. Like, so it's crazy.
Yeah, and I want to just, because they've both been very modest about this in this episode anyway. I reached out to each of them individually and got them started on some work, and they kept showing that they could do really good work on spec, on time, and everything else with the minimum of editing for the most part. And but they were also showing me some leadership and some managerial capabilities too. And when we got to the point where I had 4 big projects on my plate at the same time, when I was starting to go into like feasibility and development on those, I knew like I couldn't possibly do all 4 of them by myself. I needed some help, and that's why I started to try to flex and change up how I was doing things. And I thought, well, why don't I try getting a lead writer for each, like for 2 of these books? I can do 2 of them, but it might have been too hard to do 4. And so Michael agreed to be the lead writer on Captain's Log, which turned into a much bigger project than what I think he was expecting. But he did a fantastic job with that, along with his team. And Al was really eager to learn more about the business, like the sausage making of the business. And the timing worked out great to give him an opportunity to be lead writer on the Federation Klingon War tactical campaign book. And gentlemen, as always, hats off to you. You both did a great job with those books concurrently with the 2 books I was working on, Lower Decks and Utopia. And you guys found a way to balance managing those 2 projects that you had in addition to writing on those 2 books, right? So there was a lot of stuff going on during all that stuff, and we had other writers supporting us too. But I was really happy to see them step up to the challenge. Like, as a project manager, you always hope you're picking the right people for the work, right? And sometimes you get lucky, sometimes you don't. But I got lucky twice, so I'm a little nervous now. I don't think I can get lightning in a bottle a 3rd time, but we'll see how it goes.
I just think about how happy I am that Al ended up with the Federation Klingon War, because I could not have done that. That was such a complex achievement. The mechanics on that.
I wouldn't have been able to do the captain's log. Like, it was just not in my mindset. You know what I mean? Like, so, like, it was really cool. And I think that both of those really played to our personalities and our kind of design styles, which I thought was pretty cool. I do want to share a quick story,
Oh,
Jim.
please.
Maybe that, I don't know if you know about this. I don't know if we've ever shared it with you, but Michael and I didn't know this at first, but basically Jim had us both have a look at the Shackleton Expanse book to get our insights before we even started doing any projects. It was after that panel. He's like, "Hey, can you guys look at something for me?" And so I know, me personally, I got this manuscript, and I was like, "All right." So, like, first of all, amazing book, right? And I was like, there were a couple of things that I didn't quite understand. So I'm like, I can just say, "This is all awesome, great job, I can't wait to see it." And or I can, like, point out some things that kind of were a little weird to me that I wasn't understanding. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna be honest. And I sent Jim a small list of, like, I think 3 things that I thought, I was like, this and this and that aren't really jiving for me. And I think Jim actually went through and adjusted a couple of those things too, just based off of that insight, which was kind of cool. But the Michael and I had this fanboy moment where we got put in the thank you notes right next to Gene Roddenberry in the Shackleton Expanse guide.
And I thought that was gonna be. And honestly, I always say this. I thought that was like, I was showing my dad, like, "Dad, this is it. This is the pinnacle of my career." Me and Al were both walking around like, "This is great. Game over."
That was the thing. Yeah, I remember showing it to everyone I knew when the book finally came in. I'm like, "Oh, look, we're right there next to Gene Roddenberry."
That's funny. I had no. I don't think you've shared that story before. No, that's really great to hear. Very, very heartening. But I thought it was important because you both gave me really good feedback, and I don't think either of you had worked on the line quite yet. Michael, you may have been starting. No, I think you started the mission brief afterwards, right?
I
Um,
didn't. Yeah, I didn't start till like 2020. I think was my
Yeah, but
first.
you
Yeah.
both gave great feedback, and I was like, you know what, I need to make sure that I thank you for that. But then, subconsciously, it was also me getting the hooks in a little bit, and like, how can I continue to tap these two to contribute to the game and go forward? And I'm happy to hear, Michael, that it was not the pinnacle of your career; it was really the part of the foundation, right, for both of you, and
Right.
to some degree. I know you worked on other stuff, but that is maybe one of the biggest joys I've gotten out of this whole gig that I had absolutely no idea of 8 years ago is that I've kind of turned into an acquisitions editor. And I am now in a position where I can give other people opportunities to work on the game and to work on Star Trek because we all love Star Trek. And there are very few opportunities out there in the world right now for unagented writers to contribute to Star Trek. I mean, you need an agent for the most part to work on the novels. At this point, sadly, with the magazine folding, there's no more official venue for Star Trek short fiction, which is a huge shame. I think there's a huge opportunity for writers and readers to enjoy short fiction for Star Trek, and I wish Paramount would find a way to make it happen and make it worth continuing. But yeah, so it's great to be able to be in this position to give you guys opportunities, and you too, Bill. Like you stepped in when I gave you an opportunity, and you did some great work as well. So I'm turning fans into published professional writers, and then you're all going off with your own careers, and I can be very happy at the end of the day to say, if for some reason we pull the plug tomorrow on all of this, I've still done some awesome work for all of you, and I can't wait to see what you all do next, inside and outside Star Trek. And yeah, I, I think Al, you might be the banner bearer for that because you got Sentience and Once Upon, and I know you got more projects in your pocket right now. Of course, Michael, I know you've got your novel draft in the throes of editing right now. So I'm just excited to see what you all come up with next.
Yeah, and I do want to thank you yet again, Jim. Like, well, we're all saying, you, like, there's no way I stand a chance to do anything in Star Trek on my own. If had you not provided me for with the opportunity that who would give me an opportunity, but you're willing to take the risk. You're willing to see what I had. You accepted it. I have an adventure published with my name on it, and I couldn't be happier. I am just something in Star Trek. I can say my little contribution to the thing that we all love, and yeah, that wouldn't be possible if you weren't so generous with not just your time, but like just how you treat all of us fans and how you see us as part of the community, not just the annoying actually people who speak up on the internet to start little arguments. Like you're willing to listen to us, and forever grateful, Jim. So thank you for that opportunity.
I'm starting a new alien species called the Actuallys.
I would love to add them to my game. I think that's
We
one I
love
could role play well.
Yeah, we love all of our fans, even the actuallys. It keeps us all moving forward, so it's all good.
But Bill,
So
you're a great example of you're out there, you're producing the content, you're doing the work, you are supporting the line, you're supporting the writers. And so those are the things that I think Jim is looking for when he's starting to look for new writers, right? New blood for the line. So I think what you're doing is like, you're doing it because you love Star Trek and you love the role playing game. But when you can see that kind of passion in one of our community members, those are the people that Jim's going to come to first and ask, hey, you want to try doing this? You know what I mean? So I think the work that you've done, don't be too modest. Like and when we said influencer earlier, we really do mean that because you've got more than 1,000 subscribers now,
Yeah,
right?
yeah, we
So
crossed
like,
that.
and I don't know that anybody else has come really that close, in our community. So I do need to give props to you, and that's why we're so excited to be here as part of the 100th video.
Well, thank you, sir. I do appreciate it, but like you say, it's because I wanted to talk. The real goal when I started the channel is talk about Star Trek, talk about Star Trek adventures, and try to meet people. And I've learned as time goes on, nobody really wants to talk to me about it, but they're willing to listen. So I get very few comments and like, please talk to me.
That's
But
so rare in
yeah,
life.
right,
Yeah.
right. That's the thing. Like surely this is not interesting. What's happening here? Like somebody talk to me. But like I do have, and I do want to like don't have the time to call out everyone. There is a nice crew of frequent viewers that I can count on seeing their names popping up, commenting again and again, and like these are people who are like deeply into Star Trek Adventures too, just like all of us, and they always have something nice to say or some idea to share. So I do appreciate that, and anyone who wants to comment, I just want to talk about it. So and it is a little bit selfish because as the channel was growing, I thought, okay, if I could do something to get more interest in Star Trek Adventures, that might help the line going. And then that's the game I want to be playing for years. So I keep trying,
That's
like,
been my entire
chip away.
motivation. I say it on multiple interviews that people think I'm just, this. No, I'm actually really selfish. I just want these books to keep being published because they're so high quality, and I don't want to have to make fan stuff. So yeah, I'm
Yeah,
with you, Bill.
you want official stuff. That's it. I fan stuff is great. I love all the fan ideas, but I'm a collector. I want official things. I want the like a stamp of approval on it. I want that on my shelf. And so I just want the game. It's the longest running Star Trek role playing game in history. I mean, even FASA, which has such a huge legend, and people still talk about it. I mean, it was only I think actively published for what, like 6 years, 5 years, at most. I mean, people still play it, but like Star Trek Adventures is in what, its eighth year now, and as you said, Jim, it's still going strong. I mean, it
Yeah.
still has legs to it, and I don't want that to end. I mean, everything has to end. All good things must come to an end, but I want that to be in like way down after 100 some seasons of whatever it is. So, uh,
So I do need to add a little asterisk
okay.
to that. I think I'd have to go back and look, but I think Starfleet Battles might be the longest running Star Trek RPG, depending on how you define Star Trek. I mean, they do have a license to the original series, so it is a Star Trek RPG, but in various incarnations and editions, I think that would probably be the longest running one. Um, Outside of that particular unique circumstance, though, certainly I think Star Trek Adventures. I think we eclipsed FASA not too long ago in terms of just longevity. I mean, we may not have caught up to pure number of products because like FASA put out a lot of stuff in their time, which was awesome. But I think probably between the digital stuff that we do and the print stuff, we've probably gone past them. But I'm not sure. I haven't had the time to sit down and like look at the lists, so we'll see.
But I do put that little asterisk next to Starfleet Battles because I think like just in terms of pure role playing. But speaking of which, that is like really, oh, the thing that hooked me, the fact that it's so narrative driven and it's built to be like an episode. It's built to play. Not just an open sandbox, not just a simulator. Like you are creating your own Star Trek series, and you are the cast members in the series. What was it about Star Trek Adventures that hooked you aside from the fact that it was just Star Trek? What is there any element of it that when you saw that or you experienced it or you played it that you thought like, yes, this is what I want in the game. This is what I want in the role playing game. This is what I want in the Star Trek experience. Was did you have any feelings of that?
I mean, I can start with that, Bill, because like I said, I was real heavy into the D&D Fifth Edition for a while, and when I started Star Trek Adventures, it took me probably 3 or 4 episodes before I wrapped my head around the system itself.
Mhm.
But when I learned why threat was such an important device for co-storytelling, and when I saw it actually implemented and make a climax epic, that was when I was like, this is where I need to be for forever, right? I understood the idea of co-storytelling, the like, cheering for your players that you're running for, trying to, push them to their limits, knowing that they're probably going to succeed, instead of coming with this adversarial mindset, which I feel like lots of older role playing games kind of have that. And, the worst con experience of my life, I sat down at a table with a guy with a GM screen, and he had a bunch of stickers on it. And I was like, "What are those stickers?" He's like, "Those are NPCs that I've killed." And I was like, "Okay, I don't want anything to do with this anymore. I'm done with that. Like, I want to tell awesome stories." And when I finally learned how to use threat to do that, I couldn't turn back. That was the moment where I said, Star Trek Adventures 2D20 is where I need to be.
Fully
Yeah,
agree.
though I
Fully
though I
agree.
agree with his yeah, though I agree with this threat thing. Definitely, I love threat. To me, it was advantages and complications, which has now been simply modified as traits.
Yeah.
um, the ability for not only myself as the game master, but for the players to create narrative flows and elements so that I feel like I'm playing tug of war with them and we're competing to see who can be the better storyteller given the elements that we're throwing down. That to me forced them into a collaboration I had never seen with any other game before. The only one that came close to it was Marvel Superheroes with Plot Points.
Mm.
Had a similar kind of feel to it, in my opinion. But the fact that everybody was writing together, and then basically what I could do is just terrorize them with threat until the end of Act Two, and then say, you know what? All the problems have been created that I'm going to create. I've stacked them with complications and issues, and I'm just going to sit back and see them dig themselves out of it. That was just like such great hero's journey storytelling to me, that I was just like, wow, we're writing episodes of Star Trek every single game. It was just like really fun.
Before I have Jim jump in, because I do want to hear what you like, just commenting on both of you there with first with the narrative storytelling and with threat, and just sitting back watching watching the players try to get out. That was one of the biggest joys because it feels like I can watch an episode of Star Trek. And like you point out like this game, Star Trek Adventures, it's pretty much skewed in favor of the characters winning. Because if you watch Star Trek, you don't see Worf get stuck at a door all the time. He can't open the door, and then half the episodes him giving up and walking away. Like a lot of role playing games focus too much on the mechanics of trying to get one task done, and if you can't get it done, you have to go another way. But these are all competent people, so you throw the challenge at them. You know they could get over it, but it might take a while because of all the complications, traits, whatever you stack on top. And then without having your own, this is the resolution in mind, you just sit back and like, how is this episode going to play out? Where's it going to go?
I
I
like that you
love that
said
part.
that, Bill, because I'm going to say something I've never said before, but you just had it, gave me an epiphany moment. I think you win at Star Trek Adventures by having your character develop the most, and including taking a part in writing failures for your own characters that make you super interesting. In
Mm.
fact, the players who try to play it safe end up with the boring characters.
Yeah.
In my opinion, it's if I think about like Al's character in our game, he was willing to let everyone think he died for 5 years,
Wow.
um, and suffer and then
Yeah.
come back a hero. And anybody on our game who's actually let themselves take a serious loss and said, I'm going to just work with this. And this game leans into that. As a GM, I don't have to punish the players. It's those who punish themselves and really learn how to write a interesting hero's journey who I think get the most reward out of the game.
Yeah.
When I sit down at a table at a convention with someone that's playing for the first time, and I'm going to do it tomorrow, because I've got a player playing for the first time, I'm going to say, don't ask me if you can do something. Tell me what you want to do, and we will determine how to go about doing that.
Yeah.
Right? that is something that this game does so well. And when people understand that, like somebody tried to say to me, can I adjust my tricorder to scan for the Romulans? And I'm like, I don't know, you're the engineer, can you? Like, you know, so like I think the system that Nathan has built and the game in general, because you're so highly competent, allows you to say, tell me what you want to do,
Yes.
and we'll figure out how you can go about doing.
Yes. Oh, that's good advice, and that's perfect for our advice later. So everyone listening, keep that in mind. That's part of the advice here. Jim, I sorry to cut you off before it was your chance, but was there anything about this system when you were brought on board that really captured you in the way that the previous ones or the other role playing games you've been involved with hadn't?
Yeah, absolutely. Unlike Michael and Al, I've been playing Star Trek RPGs for a long, long time, like into the early mid '80s. Probably mid '80s is I think when I got started, testing it out, sampling it, getting a feel for it, and it didn't hurt that Next Generation was on. We had just come on the air, right? So that was a real big inspiration. Because at the time, I was just out of college. We were working retail. Some of my buddies were into RPGs. We were doing a lot of Marvel, superheroes, a little bit of D&D, a lot of Star Frontiers, and then the Star Trek came out, and somebody had a copy of the FASA Star Trek RPG, and they were like, "Oh, let's try this out," but in the Next Generation era instead of the original series era. And of course, we were all, you know, budding wannabe writers, and we were all um, theater nerds to some extent, right? So we were coming at it from the theatrical, episodic television acting kind of role playing frame of mind, as opposed to the let's roll some dice and kill stuff, right? And knock down the HP and do bash down the door and go treasure looting. We were more into the RP and the storytelling. And I think that's why we were frustrated for a number of years, because we felt like the fastest system, the last unicorn system, and then the decipher system weren't really oriented toward the narrative, right? They were really more mechanical. They were more, how many skill points do you have? What's your long list of skills? How many points of damage does my phaser do? That kind of stuff. And it was like, none of them just quite fit the way we wanted to role play and play our games. So what we ended up doing over the years is kind of like created our own kind of homebrew, kit bashed Star Trek game system, where for the most part we were just telling the story together. Like there was me and one other guy who were co-GMs, and every week we would switch off game mastering. So I would run an episode, and then he'd run one, and then I'd run one, and that gave us kind of the opportunity to be like co-producers and co-writers on our series. And it gave the group a really nice variety of stuff, because I was really more into the interpersonal character kind of stories, and he was more into the big epic kind of scope, big sciencey things. And so there's a nice balance, right? But consistently, we were focused on what are the characters doing, what choices are the characters making, and how are those choices impacting the narrative. And I don't think either one of us plotted out our stories much beyond like the first act and a half or so, because we wanted to really just throw stuff at the players and the characters and just see what happens, right? And I think that's what excited me the most about Star Trek Adventures when I saw the initial playtest material, was that the character values are super important, like who they are and what they're thinking are super important. I hadn't seen that in the Star Trek RPG before. And the skill list, there's only 6 skills, right? So that was super nice, because it wasn't this big long list of specialties and skills that you had to figure out. um, and then the momentum and threat, I was a little confused about it when I first read it, because it was something that I hadn't seen before in an RPG. So I was like, oh, what, the players can actually influence the scenes in a meaningful mechanical way, as opposed to just making it up. And you're holding the game master accountable for changing things in the game, right? It's not just game master fiat anymore. The game master has an economy that they're responsible for. I thought that was really cool, because that made the players and the game masters feel more equally responsible for the story, right? Which I thought was super cool. And so as I was reading through the playtest material, as I started to grok it, I was like, oh wow, this is kind of sort of like how we've been running our game for the past 10 years, in kind of a homebrew kit bashy kind of way. And now we have a formalized way of doing it because Nathan's a much better system designer than I'll ever be, right? So I could read his stuff and I'm like, oh, I see what he's doing with this and this, and just by playing the game, it was like, oh, this is making it easier for us to play the game that we were playing already, and it's streamlining it. And I think the supporting characters concept was fantastic because like my group, we would get into the weeds and we would make up whole rosters of ship crew like because we were all department heads for a while, and so we would really detail out our departments. So like if I was the chief of operations, I had 6 NPCs underneath me, and I went and I wrote bios for every one of them, and that helped the other game masters pick and choose which ones they wanted to focus on in a game session. So we were like kind of embryonically already doing the things that Star Trek Adventures wanted to do from the very get-go, and so it was a very seamless transition for us to go from our unofficial homebrew into Star Trek Adventures, and it was just I was so excited to be even just doing a little bit of writing on the core book because I was like, this is a really cool system. I think if we do it right, like if Modifius does it right, it could grow some legs, and shockingly, like truly shockingly, here we are 8 years later, and we've got a whole bunch of great stuff behind us, and there's a huge runway ahead of us of things that we haven't even touched yet for Star Trek. So I think if Star Trek Adventures had come out 20 years ago, that would be the system we would have been playing from day one, and we would have left all the other ones behind. And I'd be a super fan just like you guys, making up fan content and absolutely going berserk. But now I get to do it in a slightly different way because now I get to be in charge and I get to bring everybody along with me, along with like all you folks, and make it even better because like we're so much better as a team. And that's the Star Trek way, right? We're always stronger as a team. Star Trek's always stronger as a team. So I'm so excited every day when I reach out to somebody with some trepidation, like, well, do you want to work on the game? And they're like, yes, please. And I was like, yay! It's very exciting. So every single time, like all 3 of you, I probably didn't tell you, or I don't tell you enough, but when I sent that initial email to each of you to say, would you work on the game? I always had that nod of trepidation that you're going to say no. And
Has anyone ever said no?
Um, only because of scheduling.
Okay, yeah, I was gonna say,
Yeah.
anyone who says no, I just would not fathom their brain.
I almost considered saying no because I didn't think I could do it. I'm like, it's great to fantasize about it. Like, yeah, I would love to do it, and then it's like somebody's actually giving me a chance. Like that was just like imagination. That's dream stuff. That's not reality. And then Jim's like, yeah, we'll do it. I'm like, I probably should send a better idea than the one I sent then. And I just start doubting what I'm doing. But I'm still, yeah, I'm thrilled about it. But I thought, like, maybe he has the wrong guy. He wasn't paying attention to what I was saying. But Jim, there's like 20 things that you said that I want to touch on. There's just no time to do that. But I do want to just quickly shout out to the supporting character mechanic because I think that's one thing I talked about the least so far on the channel going through mechanics, but that's one of the things I really love. And I like how my players were confused with it at first because, like, coming from other role-playing games, you have your character. They're thinking like, well, why am I creating this like random person just for this one scene and doing that? Like, why am I not just sitting out waiting for me to come back in? I don't know this character. I don't know that. I think they were confused at first, but I was still forcing it into the games. Like, try it, just put it in so you have something to do. You have some dice to roll on that. But I think without them even thinking about it, it started giving life to the ship. It started giving life to the setting. And they would just casually start referring to these other characters that they know are on the ship. Or we put their little image icon on the page that they're in the background. They're not in the scene, but you see them there. And so it keeps it fresh in their mind. And like the first few supporting characters that we threw in, they were just dead, zero personality, just like robots walking around rolling dice. But as the years have gone on, the characters are talking to these characters as NPCs with not being activated. They're referring to the characters like, let's get Fox down on this mission. He'll be good for this. Like, they are part of the crew because of this mechanic. And I was just so blown away by it. And I think it took all of us by surprise just how seamlessly it creates the atmosphere of Star Trek. So thank you for
Yeah, I
bringing
mean,
that up.
we had a scene in our Pioneer episode where we had a porpoise. Who else was there, Michael? It was a porpoise,
Exocomp
an
and a
exocomp,
Horda.
and a Horda, all supporting characters that we activated for a single scene.
It was
Uh,
hilarious.
it was amazing. Like, it was so much fun that they were this little team of supporting characters that actually ended up determining like the fate of the entire thing. It was awesome.
That's
cool.
fantastic. Fantastic. But yeah, I think Bill, you're absolutely right in that making a supporting character, if you give that supporting character one value, maybe one focus, and maybe a trait, like that is enough to start developing a personality, to have the players keep coming back to them and develop a following for that character. Like you think of like Miles O'Brien wasn't really much of a character in Encounter at Farpoint, but they gave him little moments,
Yeah.
and then they gradually kept bringing him back, and they built a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more, and eventually he became a main character all in his own right, right?
And an awesome
So
one
it's,
too, yeah.
yeah, exactly, and it's just really cool to see it happen. And I think I don't know, we don't have the time. We don't probably have the time to talk about it in this episode. We'll have to talk about it some other time. But I think having a group that embraces supporting characters, I kind of feel like you need to have a group of players who are willing to step outside themselves and think of the whole ship and the whole cast and crew as opposed to just their character. And we're role players, right? We're all selfish about our main character, and I'm not any stranger to that, right? But at the same time, if you think of it, okay, it's Star Trek. We have a crew. The crew is not just the 4 or 5 player characters at the table. It's everybody else. It's all those background characters and the supporting characters and everything. And you know, I love to focus on my character, but I also don't like just sitting back all the time,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I love watching my fellow players and I love to support them when they're having their cool moments and scenes and stuff. But if they're on an away team and I'm on the ship, I still want to have a chance to play around and do something. So I'll pick up a supernumerary security officer or something, so I can at least be along for the ride and do something and have some fun. So I think there's an opportunity there for players. Like if you're uncomfortable or uncertain about playing a supporting character, take a shot. Give it a try.
There's something that 2E also did, which I really think it took the game to the next level. And that is the use of determination. And another reason I like Star Trek, especially if you're playing Starfleet characters, is you're assumed to have gone through Starfleet Academy. You're rounded out on the 6 basic departments, and so you're not just like Wolverine and I hack and slash. I hack and slash, which I do, or Cyclops. Okay, I can ricochet off it. I have a really good spatial awareness, and that's all he's ever been for 60 years, of comicdom. Uh, these characters surprise you every so often in the episodes. Just like when Data, all of a sudden, we see him leading an episode playing the violin, or we see Crusher leading a Shakespearean play and teaching acting. Right? You're like, oh wait, these are really multidimensional characters, and so the new 2E second edition, the use of determination, wherein you can do that. You can spend a point of determination to have a focus for this game that might apply. It gives you a chance as a writer to say yes and in this universe. So even if you're playing a Klingon crew, you could still say, well, while I was in the internment camp on Rurapente, I was forced to master mining equipment. And so that will be my spin of determination, this one. Or a Ferengi. Oh, yes, I once had to make love to a Betazoid woman, and so I'm courting rituals. You could do whatever you want as long as you can create a plausible explanation. And for me, watching my players do that has me lean in, and I'm like, I love these characters. And I'm surprised. I'm like, yes, these characters are so rich and dynamic. And I can't again think of another game in my limited gaming experience. I've only played maybe like 7 or 8 role-playing games in my life, different ones. I can't think of another game that gives me that full improv experience, like I get to see. I can sit there and and there's been games where I've actually not had to do much. I've just sat there, and I'm having just as much fun by just sitting there and asking for the occasional roll.
Yeah. I love the voices. First of all, I'm glad we got some performance added into this. But yeah, the since you brought it up, the second edition, I think now's a good enough time to move towards that. Over the years, the whole entire system has been evolving. Like if you're reading the early books, which on the channel, just the way, because of when I started making videos and doing reviews, we're midway through the life of first edition. So basically, my reviews started from that point forward. It wasn't until more or less second edition was coming out that I started to go back and review the earliest books in the line of first edition. And after, like, when they were coming out and I'm reading them in order, yeah, the information stuck in my head, but going back and revisiting them after seeing how the game was progressing in like year 3, 4, 5, they read so much differently. Like the early books compared to the later books, I'm not saying the quality is different, just the way the material is presented, the way they are structured. You can see the growth of the game, that the system has been changing and evolving, and new ideas are coming in, and then they are becoming more prevalent in the later books, and then second edition comes out and it takes all those good ideas that weren't there from the beginning and popped up along the way, streamlines them, and comes in. Like, what do you all think of just the evolution of the game as it's gone through the years? Like, have you had like any huge swings in how you run the game or how you play the game because of, again, if you look at the very beginning compared to now, it looks bare bones. At the time, it was perfect. It's like, this is exactly what I need. But we got so much rich content, and like, again, Al, you wrote the tactical campaign. It adds so many different layers, like new ways of using power, ways of having the tactical overlay. Like, there are so many ways you could adapt and adjust your game compared to what it was when it started. And now, what we got in second edition, have you changed in the way that you played? Or have you noticed these changes over the years?
So, I think that we have had kind of a windfall of luck um, throughout the line, right? Because when the line first started, we had no idea that there was going to be this new generation of Trek coming out,
Yeah.
right? So I think that in its own right kind of set us down a path that was, you know, uh, I mean, the whole infinite diversity thing has always been a part of Star Trek, but it really became a focus with Star Trek Discovery and into this new Star Trek stuff. So I think bringing more of that in along the way, I think was really important. And then TV shows kept coming out. So like, I mean, we're still not caught up to date with everything that has that's been released. So I think because I think storytelling has changed on screen as far as Star Trek goes. And I think that, we try to adapt that to what the system allows. And I think that second edition really embraces all of those ideas that we came up with in first edition, and really pushes it forward as like this, it is almost like a new era. You know what I mean? So.
I have to really say that the input that we get, feedback from players and on social media, continuing missions, I have to say, is a big influencer. I'm curious to see what Jim thinks, but we get so many donations from fans on what they're doing in the way of game mechanics, simplifying discussion, that I definitely see that reflected in second edition. This, as much as there's writers that Jim has brought in, it has been heavily influenced by fans who have come up with ideas and said what works for them. Um, and that is so remarkable, because I know we were playing a lot of the rules you're seeing in second edition. We had already adapted that in our game unintentionally. We're like, hey, that's not quite working for us. Let's, just give an example. Scientific method. You're not going to see it at all in second edition. And we had been talking about that for years with Nathan Dowdell, and it just wasn't sitting right with us. And so that's Nathan made the call on that, or really how we started using traits in our game is exactly how it's explained now in second edition, but we had already made that adaptation once we figured out the power of traits. So I think fans who are first edition lovers can pick this up knowing like this is the best of the best. This is game tested galore. I call first edition the play test. Second edition is to me like the refined condition after all these years of play testing. So I love it. I literally, it's the only RPG book I have on my uh, in my living room, right where I sit on my regular seat. I pick it up and I just have it on my lap and I flip through it because it's just such an easy read. The rules, I love repetition, so I can memorize stuff. The graphs are really easy. It's the only one that I feel really hit the mark on so many areas. And again, it's because of the fans, continue those who donate content to continuing missions, people who like you who post their opinions and concept. I think Jim would agree. They listen to it all over on his team.
I do think that additionally, I think the industry in general over the last 8 years has shifted, right, to becoming more accommodating to people with different needs, right? And so as the industry has started to shift towards, session zeros, safety content like X cards, things like that, that we of course need to adapt that into our stuff as well, right? That's why there's a content warning at the beginning of the Federation Klingon War book, right? We say right up front, hey, these are the things that are going to happen in this book. If that's not your thing, maybe you want to gloss over that or try a different adventure or try a different book, right? So I think that as the industry has shifted to be more inclusive and more accommodating for everyone, we've kind of we've been trying to keep up with that as well and trying to include that in all of our books.
Yeah, I think I guess being the being in the position that I'm in and having worked on pretty much everything, I can clearly see an evolution from the first core book all the way up to where we are now and beyond. And I think, you know, looking outside myself and just looking at what we've contributed, I think when I came into it, I was the lead writer on the command source book. Like that was one of the big projects I started working on after I got into the game, and I really wanted to lean into the narrative. I wanted to give more tools for the game master and the player to really dig into that narrative. And I'm not really a mechanics guy. Like I'm not a, I'll do mechanics, but I don't enjoy playing games for the sake of the mechanics. I just want to get into the story and the character development and the character interactions and stuff. And so I threw together that plot component idea that's in the three division source books, and just to kind of test the waters, just to see, what's the response to this going to be. Are people going to like the random tables? Are they going to like the plot hooks idea? Are they going to like those concepts to start developing stories organically? And the feedback from the fans was good, not just on the plot components, but like everything else about the game, right? And so I know collectively we really took all that feedback to heart as we were continuing to work our way through the initial slate of products, and then started, finishing up we finished up the living campaign, and there was a lot of fan feedback from the living campaign and the playtest, and then into the game itself. And then I think somewhere around when we were wrapping up the division books and the quadrant books, we were at that point of like, okay, so what's next? And that's when we started developing the Shackleton book, and that was, taking the living campaign and refining it into a big epic scope of campaign. And that really, because of course I hired a bunch of writers to help me with it, right? Kelly and Derek and Dayton and Scott are all longtime professional fiction writers, and that very much put a spin on the direction that the game was kind of moving toward, and plus the fan feedback too. We were getting a lot of fan feedback um, about challenges people were having with the challenge dice, and how that was becoming a roadblock for a lot of people. And then a lot of people, just talking about how they really wanted more narrative tools to get the story going. And certainly there was a group that were really into the mechanics and the PowerPoints and the shield points and wanted to do more um, um, really crunchy kind of stuff, right? Which is totally cool. I feel like though we were moving in a direction where like we were at odds with the crunch. There's like we could go really super crunchy with the game. Although even from the very beginning, I don't think STA was really designed to be a really super crunchy system, because there aren't shield points necessarily, like in the way of like the Facet Tactical Simulator. It just wasn't quite that feel, and I know some people were frustrated about that. But I think Nathan really, like even just the first play test was really leaning into the concept of you're going through the act structure, you're going through scenes. There's a scene economy. You got threat, you got momentum that can impact how those scenes play out. And so I think we leaned into that more and more and more. And I think one of the big turning points for the line, I think, was the player's guide and the game master's guide, where we were able to put in a whole lot of advice about how to play the game differently than what was originally presented in the core book, right? And then we went from there. But since then, we did Captain's Log, and then we did the Tactical Campaign, and those two books together, in conjunction with the core books that were already in existence. Like, and I know Michael and I have talked about it on continuing conversations. There's so many layers now, and I think Al alluded to the layers of the game that are available now, where you can scale way up high to like a big 20,000-foot admiral point of view of a military campaign, or even just a like an exploration thing, and then you can drill down, and you can go all the way down to one individual character's story and do a captain's log with that character. It could be a minor character, a major character. Spend a couple of hours, spin up their story, and then how does that fit into your bigger narrative with the rest of your players? And I think there's so many directions now. There's so many tools available now to players and game masters for Star Trek Adventures that I would struggle to imagine what kind of story can you not tell with the tools that are available to you if you just use a little creativity and just think about the spread of options that are in front of you now between first edition and second edition. And I'm super proud of that entire body of work. I mean, there's just so much potential now. Like if I stopped, being the project manager and I could find a way to make this a job just to run Star Trek Adventures all the time, I could tell so many different stories for the next 20 years with just the products we have on the shelf now, and I would be thrilled, right? Because there's so much potential. Yeah, go ahead, Michael.
Yeah, there's something else, Bill, that happened here. I'm going to call it out because again, you're getting all this first on your show. I've never said many of these things on Continuing Conversation. I'm calling a black alert on what I'm about to say.
Black alert. Okay, it's going now. It's going. All right.
Okay, so there's something else that the Star Trek Adventures line under the leadership of Jim Johnson did that I'm betting no other RPG did before. He uplifted the franchise of the RPG where he's bringing in and connecting people like Dayton Ward and Scott Pearson and Derek Tyler-Attico and Thomas Maroney and Aaron Harvey. He's like, Jim is the central point for people who are on the TV shows, working on the TV shows, writing the novels, writing the comic books, bringing them together. So honestly, Jim, go ahead and cry if you want to. You've actually uplifted it out of just RPG. That's a black alert to me. That's amazing.
That's a very good point.
Who I can meet because of what you've done with the game under your leadership. Yeah, Nathan designed an amazing game, but it's the way you open doors and introduce people to that is probably going to lead to the survivability of this game too. And that to me is remarkable, that RPG level people can now meet creators. Eric Campbell, Eliza Pearl. I mean, all these people now are one step away. And now, honestly, I mean, because of you, I've had someone who's actually acted on the show reach out to me to do stuff. And it's just like, whoa, so that's crazy, Jim. Like that alone, Black Alert level, Bill Barbado, Final Frontiersmen, is something that I think is going to keep this game around for at least another decade in production.
Oh. Michael, thank you so much for saying that. I really appreciate it. I think that just goes to to how lucky we've been, and Al alluded to how charmed the games line's been really for the last 8 years. It sure didn't hurt that Discovery came out right after our first core book came out. Right? It was like, oh, there's an active TV show on air while our game is out. Okay, we'll ride that coattail for as long as we can. And sure enough, they gave us the Discovery license, and then Picard, and then Lower Decks, and everything else.
But then you had somebody who's writing on Discovery, contributing to the Discovery book. I mean, that's huge, right?
Yeah. And I think that really speaks to the larger Star Trek family, right? The producers, the developers, the people that are on the production crews of all the TV shows.
Sorry, I hardly interrupt you, but did you notice how he's trying to deflect out of his humility what I just tried to give him?
I'm watching it.
I'm calling it out. Sorry, Jim. I'm calling it out. No one else in the RPG realm with Star Trek has done what you've done. Leave it with you. That's what I was talking about.
I have to second what Michael says. So yeah, there's no talking your way out of that one. You've earned this. You've created this. Michael beautifully pointed out. Thank you so much.
MU.
Yeah, no escaping that one.
I will gracefully take that credit. Thank you, Michael. I appreciate it. I think I stumbled into that.
You can just say thank you, and
No,
Bill can move
I'll
on.
just say thank you. I am super excited because this game has become so successful that people in productions and stuff are actually playing the game, right? And I didn't know that until I very timidly reached out to Dr. Aaron McDonald and said, "Hey, you don't know me. I'm the project manager of Star Trek Adventures. I would love for you to write something for the game line if you are interested, if you know anything about the game, blah blah blah." And like her email was effusive and said, "I play the game and I'm also a writer on some other stuff, and yeah, I'm happy to do it." And I was like mind blown.
Yeah.
Not only am I talking to Dr. Aaron McDonald, but she already knows the game, so that like this made it easy right there. It's like, oh, she's one of us. Okay, we're all good, and then we're just off and running. So I don't know how I managed to fall into this position, Michael, of having the ability to connect the dots with all these different people like Eric Campbell, Heather Antos, Jackson Lansing, and everybody else over at IDW, STO, Thomas Maroney. Just making connections is something I just stumbled into in the Star Trek world. Even to I mean, there's just a long list. I mean, look at the credits. There's so many people in the big Star Trek family who have been absolutely willing to contribute to Star Trek Adventures.
Well,
And
you're all, and
great.
also another thing too is contributing to people who are writing are becoming huge names in their own right, like Susan and
Yeah.
Tilly Bridges, or Johnny Karzai from Farragut Forward. Like these are
Mhm.
people who have some influence from the game, and they're admitting it. And so I know me and Al have talked about this, and Jim, I think we talked about it too. Is I do choose to believe that the people who are currently writing Star Trek shows have all the books on their shelf and they use it as reference, just like people used to use the technical manual. I'm choosing to believe that they are advised to buy these books to do their research.
Mm-hmm. I don't disagree because like I know that all of us have had all the FASA and Last Unicorn and Decipher stuff on our shelves. I know a lot of the Star Trek fiction writers have all this stuff on their shelves. I am confident that there are people on the production teams of all these TV shows that are looking at this stuff too. And if any of you are listening to this, please, 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 just one little mention of the Shackleton Expanse in an episode somewhere, even just a throwaway line, put it on a map in the background, something. Just give us some acknowledgement, please.
Well, you have three so far. We had Johnny Karzai,
Yeah.
mentioned it in Farragut Forward. Dayton
Mm.
Ward
In
made
a
a
novel.
mention of it recently, and you also had give me a second. Oh, Derek Tyler Attico took his character.
Yes.
Sorry, two more. Derek Tyler Attico took his character and put it into chapter 1 of the autobiography of Captain Sisko, and Jackson Lansing and Colin Kelly have both admitted that their RPG has influenced their comic books, and they have some
Oh,
of
and
their
also Eric Campbell brought the he had his ship in his RPG. It became STO. It became canon, and it was just a nice little circle, circle of life. So yeah, it's just really cool to be in this place working on this game and seeing all the connections that we're able to make across the different licensees, and hopefully that'll continue because I know that the fans notice. Right, I'm a fan. I notice stuff like that. People have come out and emailed me and contacted me and said, "Hey, it's really cool that you put in comic book references into the RPG. It's really cool that you're referencing video games from 20 years ago. It's really cool that you're referencing STO. Of course, the STO cadre, like the people that are huge in the STO, want more STO stuff in the RPG. It's like we're trying to make it happen in strategic ways, but
Gold Key
it's just cool.
Comics.
What's that?
Yeah.
Gold Key Comics. Yep.
Yeah.
I was able to get Rich Handley to do a sidebar about Gold Key, and I was so thrilled to get that. And you mentioned Aaron Harvey getting into the animated series, so that was really exciting too. So
and even if they're not actively working on a project for us, they're still very responsive, right? Like
yeah.
when I was working on my section of the 2E core rulebook, I was trying to sort out with Jackson Lansing how to describe what happened. How can I lay this out as it lines up with Next Generation and Deep Space Nine and whatnot. And he was there, like responding to me like within hours of how we can work that out together. And then Thomas Maroney, same thing. When I was asking him about the Romulan Remnant and how did that all play out, he was giving me links. He was and like they're not even working on the project, but like I'm sending them emails, and within a day getting all the information I need to help put that stuff together. So I'm very appreciative of all of those folks for supporting us.
Yeah, absolutely. And I need to give a real special shout out to Sam Webb, who gave me some opportunities early in the life of the line when I was, supporting as a writer and an editor. There was one point where we had Rick Sternbach on kind of a retainer to give us some technical support, and Rick Sternbach also did the if you look at the what was it? I just drew a blank. One of the books, maybe the Command Source book. There's a deck plan, like a master system display of the Shackleton Narendra station, and Rick designed that, created it, out of his system. And there was one point where I was working on that, and we needed to make some adjustments to the graphic. And I said, hey Sam, here's a list of changes that we need to make to the graphic to bring it up to speed. And she was like, well, why don't you email Rick and tell him directly, because I'm too busy doing this other stuff. And I was like, I had a real fanboy moment. I was like, you want me to email Rick Sternbach? Me? What am I doing? And I wrote the email, and I was like, who am I to be writing Rick Sternbach about this technical details on this thing? How dare me to ask him to make changes to this thing that he created? And he was super gracious and answered all my questions and made the revisions to it and stuff. And it was like, wow, I got a chance to talk to Rick Sternbach. That is super cool. And then to add one other fanboy moment, I was at a convention in Maryland a number of years ago, and Michael and Denise Okuda were there as guests. And I was there as a guest for the writing, for working on the fiction. But stupid me, it didn't occur to me to bring a book for them to sign. Right, and the only book I had handy with me was the core book for the for STA, because it had just recently come out, and I was trying to promote it, and support them. So I took it over to them and I said, "Hey, I forgot to bring one of your books. Would you mind signing this for me?" And of course, the first edition core book is very much in the Elcar's design that Michael created, for the show, and he spent a solid 10 minutes just flipping through the book and looking at what we had done to his designs. And overall, he was really impressed that we found a way to translate his screen design into print, right? And he was so kind, and I was like, I was just totally fanboying all over him. And he and Denise both signed my book, which I'm super proud of. And the next day I went back to Modifius on the chat, internal chat, and said, "Hey designers, good job, because we got the Michael Okuda seal of approval on the design, look and feel and stuff." And I had to look back on that and reflect, and like, holy cow! In the space of a couple months, I was emailing Rick Sternbach about changes to a graphic, and I was interacting with Denise and Michael Okuda about the design of the book, and I was just like, I was on cloud nine for a better part of a year.
Oh, that is
It's
awesome.
insane.
Yeah.
So anyway, non sequitur.
No. Those are the kind of stories I love hearing. That is so good. And I just do want to throw in one little thing about first edition, especially with the Elcars thing. I know a lot of people had trouble with the black page and the white print. There's a lot of legitimate thing, but I love that design so much. I don't need the first edition book for what I do, but I still just take it off and read through it because I love it, especially on tablet, because then it feels like it's an actual pad with the Elcars. I love it so much. I understand why I had to change, but at the same time, I'm so glad it was made. It's perfect for me.
I'll admit, there are times when I'll grab my iPad from my son when he's not playing Minecraft. I'll flip through one of the first edition books, because it makes me feel like I'm in Star Trek, right? I'm reading the book. There's the Elcar's designs. Oh, this feels so good. Anyway, so before I don't want to interrupt Michael and Al if you had something to add, but Bill, I do have a question for you.
Yes, sir.
Not to turn the tables on or anything, but I wanted to know, Bill, like, doing videos, putting them up on YouTube, like that takes a certain amount of mindset and work, right? So I'm curious from your point of view, given that we're here celebrating your 100th video, like what inspired you to, I mean, not just enjoy the game and enjoy Star Trek and play with your group and have a good time, but you took the next evolutionary leap beyond that to say, I think I have something to say. I'm going to record it, and then not only am I going to record it, I'm going to put it online for other people to see and react to. Like, what was it about Star Trek or Star Trek Adventures or whatever that just inspired you to go from, you know, casual fan enjoying the game in their own little bubble to, unintentionally becoming a major influencer for the game line?
Definitely unintentionally. That's for sure. I don't think anyone's ever asked me that. That really is putting me on the spot. I don't even know if I've thought about it. But
Well, it is your show.
well, it was again unintentional. It was never supposed to get to anywhere near this size. Not that it's huge, but I mean, for being completely amateur, yeah, this is okay. So what was the cause? Well, again, like I said, I did want to just meet other Trekkies and talk about anything Star Trek, and but especially the game. But like Shield of Tomorrow, which I still consider to be like maybe the first series of the new era of Star Trek. It that's like kicking off. It was so good. The performances were so well done. It made the game look so exciting. But I also like watching videos for anything, any kind of game I'm interested in. I like watching videos on like reviews, mechanics, talking about the books, talking about the content, and I just did not find that information or a lot of that information available on YouTube. Like continuing mission, I stumbled across. Of course, anyone looking for content for STA finds continuing mission like first stop. But I also like having videos to play in the background when I'm doing stuff or when I'm at work, supposed to be working. I'd like to have a video playing that I can watch. But there just wasn't a whole lot at the time. And one thing that a good friend of mine always said to me is like, well, if it's not there, why don't you do it? And I'm not really an extrovert. I'm not really good at public speaking, but I thought, you know what? I like talking about Star Trek, and there's no matter who's watching, I can't see them, so I can't feel the pressure of people watching me. So like, yeah, I asked a friend. I said like, I'm thinking of just making a channel to talk about Star Trek Adventures. Maybe we could post our own games on there too, because we've been recording them. I'm like, would you like to join me? Because I needed that safety blanket of somebody else there with me to be like, yeah, let's do this. I'm like, oh, okay, I got the motivation now, because now I drag somebody else into it. So if I don't do it, I'm letting someone else down. So he was like my hostage that I brought in to force me to do it. And he stayed with the channel for as long as he could. But then by the time he left, we already had like a flow going, and I just didn't want to drop it. I was having such a good time talking about the different products, and what made me continue really is like doing the reviews. I would go back and reread the books 2 or 3 times much more closely than I normally would in any situation prepare. So I was getting such a better understanding for my own game that it was helping me improve as a GM for my game. But it was also, the channel was growing. I get some people talking. So it just kept one upping itself. And I haven't stopped yet, even though like time is, it's hard. It's hard to do because like it's now Frontiersmen, but it's a one-man job now. So currently, so I keep trying. I keep trying when I can. But yeah, it's hard work, but it's been fun. It's been fulfilling. And I mean, look at the screen now. Anyone that's watching, look at the people I've gone to meet thanks to this game. I've been watching on your own channels, like before any of this, before I got connected with any of it, and now I get to talk to you. You Jim, you mentioned talking about like meeting the Okudas, talking to them. Like, this is my fanboy moment here. I'm meeting people that, like, yes, these are people I talk to. These are people I respect. And now they're talking to me. It's very, very.
We're geeks just like you, Bill.
Yeah.
We're geeks just like you.
But it just feels weird.
That's the heartening thing, yeah.
We watch our Star Trek one channel at a time.
Yeah. Only one channel? You don't have double screens going on? Yeah. No. It's it's hard work, but it's fun work, and I just like where it's going. Thank you for asking, Jim. I honestly, like, I'm sorry it's not a more polished answer, but I don't think I've ever actually tried to voice it until now.
No, it doesn't need to be polished, and I think that's one of the things I appreciate about you, Bill, and all your videos and your reviews and stuff is that you're just unfailingly honest in your assessments. Like I know you've had overwhelmingly positive things to say about the majority of the releases, but you're also not afraid to offer your constructive criticism too, right? But to your credit, you don't slag on the parts of it that you don't like. You're still positive and upbeat, and I think Al alluded to it earlier. Is like that's the kind of people I'm looking for. Is like you can be very positive about the franchise and about the game, and offer your constructive criticism. But there's a fine line between being upbeat and positive and loving the franchise and the game, and not going over the edge to being like, and I hate this and I hate that and blah 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 blah. And it's like, well, gosh, who'd want to work with that,
right?
Right?
That was when we started the channel. My co-host Jeremy, like I said to him, like, no matter what, we can't be negative. We could say what we don't like, but there were, especially at the time, and still they're continuing, there's just so many channels that thrive on being negative, and I don't want that. So we can have our opinions, we can have things that we prefer, but no matter what it is, we have to realize somebody out there loves it, and it's not fair to them if we're trashing it. So I could say I don't care for this, but for people such and such, they might enjoy it. So that's always something I remind myself of. And I know, Michael, we talked about this before too. I mentioned it before. Like I was not a fan of Discovery when it came out. Like, I enjoyed parts of it, but it lost me, and I allowed those negative videos I mentioned, I allowed them to influence me and make me even more negative towards it than I should have been. But when you all created the first Discovery campaign guide, and watching the continuing conversations episodes, a couple of them, and Michael, you mentioned that you too weren't a huge fan, but it made you go back, it made you find stuff that you liked, and the book actually inspired me to go back, and I binged the whole series, and I like it. I ended up liking the series far more than I told myself I did, and it's because you gotta go in with an open mind. And when you're just hearing somebody say, like, no, it's terrible, it sucks, it's stupid, don't do that, it makes you feel like, oh, okay, I can't do that. So I don't want to be that person.
Yeah, I think I told you before, you're the only Star Trek Adventures related videos that my wife watches. She doesn't watch my show. But she likes the way you present, and she loves the black alerts and blue alerts and red alert. She loves that. So you're the only one she watches. She's like, oh, is that Bill? And she'll come listen to it. So I big kudos to you for your presentation style.
Well, please say hello to her again, as always, from me. That's so kind of her. I'm glad I know I have at least one viewer out there that's not connected.
No,
yeah.
And 3 right here.
Well,
number 3, right?
Thank you. And Al, you've been on the channel so much that you can't help but watch it because you're seeing it live in person because you're here so often.
I'm basically a co-host at this point, so
pretty much.
Why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
I need one.
Sorry,
Frontiersmen, it's still plural.
The universe.
So. Okay, so. Oh, go on, Jim. I'm sorry.
I was going to say really quick, just to build on what Michael was saying. I love the alert system that you use for your reviews. Like every time I watch them, I'm like, because like until you started working with me on the line, I was like, oh, I know this book is coming out. What's Bill going to say about this one? What's going to be the red alert and the yellow alert and the black alert? Is he going to see what we were trying to do with this? Is he going to respond to it? And sure enough, you more often than not make the things that I think are going to be important, you turn into red alerts or black alerts or something. And I'm like, yes, we got
pressure.
it.
That's
you really
got
validate.
it.
You validate our work because
Yes,
we put a lot of
absolutely.
work into doing. I remember you did one on lower decks, and you gave I forget what alert level you gave it, but you gave an alert level to the tropes.
Oh yeah.
That it's there. It's like that is what builds a Star Trek episode. And I was like, I'm
Yes.
glad you because that was like I've never seen that in print
Right.
anywhere. I did some research on the internet and got kind of gathered a little here and there, but I've never seen a comprehensive tropes. And the fact that you caught that and all that work behind there, I was like so happy.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. I love it. I still love it. I still refer back to that book a lot just to remind myself going in. But just one little
Thank
side
you for
thing.
validating us.
Oh no! Now I got the pressure. Like, oh god, I hope I didn't miss something. They expected to be an alert. But
You can't catch all the Easter. It's impossible.
No.
There's no one out there who can catch all the Easter eggs in these books.
Definitely, and especially not me. That's for sure. But
I mean, let's be honest, not even me, right? My writers are clever, and sometimes they put Easter eggs in there that just go right over my head and go right over CBS's head. And then it's like a year later, some random fan says, "Oh, hey, I really like this Easter egg in here about blah blah blah," and I look at that and I'm like, "What? Okay, sure, that was intentional, of course."
Of course.
So I think one of the big perpetrators of that would be Aaron Pollier. He's got some really nice Easter eggs in a lot of these books, and I am not as well versed in the broader science fiction world as he is, and it's fun for me too, right? Because like a fan will say, "Oh, hey, now you've made such and such a thing canon in Star Trek Adventures," and I'm like, "What did we do?" I'll go back and look at the book. And
I
go,
can't tell you
"Is
how
that a
much
thing?"
me, Al, and Troy, Aaron have interweaved our own starship into Star Trek Adventures books. It's just for self gratification purposes.
I mean, we all do that. I mean, if I could not possibly enumerate the number of self-references I put into the first bunch of books from my campaigns in the past. And the only people who are going to know it are me and the handful of players that I played with. It's all going to be opaque to everybody else, but I know they're there.
Yeah.
And so I'm glad to hear that you all are doing it too. So that's great.
That's good. But you also reminded me that eventually I do need to get Aaron on the channel because I've been wanting to do a science episode for a long time, and like he is like the behind the scenes like in Spider-Man they said the guy in the chair for my games. I have contacted him so many times when I'm preparing for a game and I want to add a science element, and I'm saying like I want to do something like this and I'm thinking of adding an element like this. Does that work? Does that make sense? Or do you have ideas? And he just hits me with all this stuff back.
Aaron is so good. Paramount should reach out to him to be the fill-in for Dr. Erin McDonald if she's not available. Like he should definitely be that second person because he plays on my game and I can't tell you where he's taken my mind and just the level of our game with his science knowledge. Plus he's a scientist in real life, which helps, you know, and honestly, if anyone from CBS is listening, it's always good to have someone in the back pocket. He should be backing up Dr. Aaron McDonald.
By all means, this guy, he is spectacular. Like the ideas that come out, like that's not what I was thinking. That's 10 times better. Thank you very much, Aaron. Okay, I'll be rewriting my story now. Thank you. Yeah, I agree.
And like, and if we get stuck on like something sciencey that we're writing, hey Aaron, what about these two species on such and such moon? And he'll give you like a 6-paragraph answer, and you can like and he's always there with it. So like he is, you know, there's a lot of that I aspire to, like because he can make those stories up like that. It's
and
really
Simon and Schuster should get him to do their first Tellarite novel.
Ooh,
Get the guy, have him write the first Tellarite focused novel for Star Trek. It'd be mind-blowingly good.
Yeah, I've heard the stories of his Tellarite performance, so I would love to see that. That would be awesome. Also, I should say there is also a flip side to it, where sometimes I come up with an idea, and I refuse to share it with him because I'm scared he's going to tell me like all the flaws in it, and like, but I really want to do this. So, yeah, there's the dangers.
You must understand that's part of it too.
Yeah, like I really want this to work, so I don't want to hear the truth right now. So I'm just gonna block it out.
He's really good at. So this doesn't make sense, right? Explain to me how it can make sense.
Yeah, that's
Really good at that. And so like we've actually had those conversations as well. So yeah, I would love to see you and him go at it here on this channel. It'd be great.
I'm definitely going to have to reach out in this new year. We're in the new year, I'm assuming. So yeah, have to get him on here soon. Now it's been we're already over an hour. Oh my God, I should have looked at the clock earlier. We're well over an hour. So with that said, instead of I know I mentioned we could do the game and that, maybe I'll call you all back for the game next time.
I don't know. Wait, I'm gonna vote that I want to try the game once.
You want to try?
Like what? I'm curious.
You want to? I know it's.
I think the world wants to see 20Q.
Basically, okay, so there was probably a big heavy edit right now in the episode. So if you're coming back after the edit, this is we might be playing a game. This is 20Q. Star Trek. I believe I got this about 15 years ago as a present from my mother. Basically, what you do in this game, it's like a 20 questions game. You think of something from Star Trek. It could be a character, it could be a place, where you're supposed to think of something from Star Trek. I usually did characters because I know characters much better than details on places and things. And it will ask you 20 questions. Then, after the 20th question, it will try to guess what you were thinking of. Now, if it gets it wrong, this cheater here, it asks 5 more questions, and then it gives a final answer. And if it's wrong that time, then you are declared the winner.
I got my character.
Okay.
Who is it? Kai Wynn?
So what's that? Oh, Kai Wynn. So we would have to decide on one topic to do, and then I could read the questions, and you would tell me either if the answer is yes, no, sometimes, or unknown. And then it goes from there.
I'm putting my answer in the chat and to see if everyone agrees that we should go with this and see if we can get this character.
Oh, that'll be a good idea. So we'll check the chat. We know who it is. The listeners won't know until the answer comes out. So
I like it.
If you're watching, play along with us. Let me go into the chat and see if I could find the chat. I'll probably have to blur out my window for a second. So let's look.
If you know American Sign Language, I could finger spell it to you. Oh, what do I care? The machine won't know. The machine doesn't know what I say out loud. Can all the people
It's just the viewer. Know? It's just the viewer. Well, the people at home, yeah, we
should know because they're playing with us.
They would be playing with us unless you want them to try to figure it out too. But I think it would be extremely hard.
No, we should let them figure it out too.
You want to do that? Yeah. Okay. So those of you watching in the comforts of your own home, you try to see if you could get it as well. Is everyone okay with that character?
Yeah, I think it's obscure enough.
It is obscure. So let's see what this thing could do. Oh, come on, batteries. Stay with me here. Okay, it lit up. Okay, it's asking, is it a sentient being? Yes. I'm going to keep the sound off just in case. Save the battery. Okay, did it take the Starfleet Academy entrance exam?
No.
Question 3. Is it in good relations with the Federation? Say no. I would say no, at least.
I'm trying not to play off.
Wait, is sometimes an option?
Sometimes is an option. So
I would still say no, probably.
Okay, then no. Does it have hair? Well.
Yes.
It does have hair.
It does.
It does. He does have hair.
He does somewhat.
I pulled the picture up.
Question 5.
You said he. Don't give any clues.
Oh, has it ever been beamed aboard the Enterprise?
No.
No, definitely no. Okay. Question 6. Is it a good negotiator?
Whoa. I have
Oh,
to say yes.
yeah.
I'll explain why after.
Okay.
Yes.
We want to go with yes?
Because it almost convinced someone.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. Okay, then yes. I was out. Oh, yeah, this is where it's mocking you. I was out saving the galaxy when your grandfather was in diapers. Yeah, the game mocks you halfway through, so apologies.
That was
Okay.
Scotty's. That sounds like Scotty.
I love it.
Is it peaceful?
I'd say no.
No.
Or sometimes is sometimes an option.
Sometimes is an option.
I think we should go sometimes.
Yeah. Okay. I go for
Sometimes. Jim, you okay with that?
Yeah.
Sometimes. Okay. Question 8. Would it feel out of place on Earth? Yeah, I would say. That's
Oh,
not
really?
their goal, right? Would
No,
not
Well,
want
these are good questions.
right?
They're awesome
I
questions.
would love to play. I'm buying this, by the way. You're gonna send me what that is because I'm gonna find it.
I'll send
I'm
it.
buying
I
this
need to
game.
find a copy of this because like they did a really nice job making these questions come
Like
up.
I said,
Yeah.
about 99% win rate on this thing. This thing is pretty good.
Wow.
So
Cool, we'll see.
let's see here. Next question. Has it ever been caught lying?
No.
No.
Not that I can recall. No, I don't
Mm-mm.
think it has to lie. That's not really his
Correct.
thing. Okay,
Yeah.
no. Question 10. Does it practice special rituals?
No.
I don't
would
think so. It has a fascination with a certain thing, but that's not a
One thing,
ritual.
yeah.
Not original.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Question
Yeah.
11. Has it ever been involved in a war?
Yes.
I would
Yes.
say yes. Definite.
I
yes.
love this. It really adds depth to the character now.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Does it have funny ears?
No.
I don't
Maybe.
believe so, but it's been a while
No.
since I've seen it. Where are the ears
No,
like
normal
Al?
ears.
Normal ears.
No,
No.
normal ears.
Normal
Pretty
ears.
normal. Yeah.
Pretty normal. Okay. 13. Is it
what's-
involved in a romance with a crewmate? No, not with a crewmate. Question 14. Is it cooperative?
Sometimes.
Sometimes maybe.
Michael, you seem torn by
Does it
that.
say, does it say cooperative with whom?
Doesn't say.
I think its objective is totally selfish and not. I mean, it does not have any flexibility. It shows no flexibility.
Not with the goal. I would go with either sometimes or no.
I would probably lean toward no.
I'm
Okay.
leaning towards
Just based on
no.
what Michael's saying. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, go with Michael. Let's do no. Question 15. Does it have unique senses?
Ooh, that's a good question.
That is a
Because
good-
remember, it went with instinct.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Is there
I have to say yes.
it could be
Mhm.
yes
No, but I
sometimes?
mean, it was wrong though.
Maybe
Yeah.
sometimes.
Maybe
Sometimes. I like
Al,
sometimes.
what do you think?
Yeah, I'll go with sometimes.
Let's do sometimes. Question 16. Has it received advanced training in its field?
Yes.
I would say
Yes.
yes, definitely.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
17. Is it ranked higher than a lieutenant?
Yes.
Yes.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Question 18. Is it always getting into trouble? I don't know if in like a mischievous sense, but it's
I think it's
causing
causing-
trouble, not
yeah.
getting into trouble. So what do you think?
Honestly, I mean, the power level, like, I thought it was interesting. The question asked about, does it lie? No. When you have true power, you don't have to
You
lie.
don't have to lie. Yeah. Jim, would you say no? Getting into trouble?
Yeah, I would say no to getting into trouble.
Al, you agree with that then?
Agree.
No. 19. Would it make a good captain?
Well,
Mm.
Sometimes.
Wait, sometimes.
Sometimes it depends
depends
on
on your
how things
definition of-
turn out.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Maybe.
Not a good Starfleet captain,
Not
but
a good
certainly
Starfleet captain.
Let's go sometimes.
yeah, sometimes.
Yeah.
Hope.
Well, no. Let's be real about this.
Oh, I already
I think
pushed sometimes.
universe-
Sorry.
Oh, I was gonna just say it's universally accepted
Yeah.
that a good captain puts its crew first. So
Mm.
if I made that argument, I would have said no, but we'll go sometime.
Apologies,
Okay.
I already hit sometime. Last question, number 20. Well, maybe last question. Has it ever been stranded? Not in the traditional sense.
Stranded in time?
Stranded in time. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah.
Oh, you gave it away.
Well, give some of
Sorry.
it away.
That was a
there's
big
so
hint,
many
guys.
characters like that.
What would you say? Stranded? Would this be thinking in those terms? Oh, this is tricky.
Well, no, because you know why? It always had control. Like
True.
it wasn't stuck. It kept going and going and reiterating.
Yeah, it could. Jim, are you happy with no then?
Yeah.
Okay, everyone's going with no? All right.
Go with that.
Did you guess it? No?
Wait, here we go. Hang on a second.
Did we stump it?
Wait a second. Has it ever been? No, it just, the screen turned off because we were taking so long. I thought the battery died. Okay, hitting no real quick. Okay, I'm thinking you seem to be working on impulse power. There's a nice little animation on the ship coming through. Okay. Is it? Oh, it's Vreenak. No.
Yes, we stumped it.
So it's going to give its final 5 to see if it could get it. Okay, so far so good. That's good. Here we go.
I'd be curious if we were playing this, if any of us would guess this character before the machine.
Probably not.
Know.
Is there much information about it? Is there much information about it? I'd say no.
Yeah,
I mean, we only
2
encountered
episodes.
Yeah. Would
2
you say no?
episodes.
2 episodes?
Yeah.
No.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, no.
Has Picard seen it?
No.
That's a clear no. 23. Is it a veteran among its group?
Yes.
Yes. By far. 24. Does it often appear angry? No, was he angry?
Driven?
Well, no, think about it though. Well, what do you call it? It's created an enemy of we know what.
Yeah.
Right? It's created an enemy. It has a foe. Is it angry at that foe?
What do you think?
It's upset. It's totally upset, right?
Yes, or sometimes.
Is upset different than angry?
Or intense? Like
it's almost like a challenge, a competition.
Sometimes, I guess.
Sometimes.
But yet it honors it. It kind of respects it as a foe.
True. Is it a humanoid? Yes. That's definitely yes. All right. I'm thinking the time for games is over. Oh, it's taunting us. It's Anorax.
Oh my God!
You got it! Oh, wow.
No way!
That's amazing.
Yes, it's Anorax. Your Vulcan mind meld. It's doing some animation. Failed. I win.
What the heck?
It got it.
I'm ordering this right now.
It got it.
Can you send us the link to that? I'm buying that, bro.
I certainly will.
Send us all the link to that.
Yeah.
Jim, I think this is going to become a regular segment on our show.
Look at
It's amazing, man. And what I really like is when you were asking those questions, I was like, man, that would be a fantastic tool for gaming and game mastering and playing to help create a character.
Yeah.
Like, because we always ask lots of questions in our books about what help develop the character. Those are great questions, and wow, I'm really impressed that they programmed that all into this thing to try to suss out what are we thinking.
And it's questions you're not necessarily thinking are going to come up. Yeah, this thing is amazing.
That's really good.
I will send the link, and it's still on the batteries they came packaged with 15 years ago. So
I would love
$25 on eBay.
Definitely not designed by Apple. Definitely not designed by Apple. So what gets me is I would love to see the back end spreadsheet where they have enough variability on that data to be able to track that. That's great.
Right, and that was 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
imagine what they do now.
Yeah, I'd love to see something like that with the technology we have now.
2541.
That's not
Shit.
bad.
Send me the link.
That's
Send me the
affordable.
link.
Yeah, Al,
Did
please.
you just buy it, Al?
And I want to find out who designed it because I want to get them on our show.
Right?
Are we all gonna jump on eBay and try to outbid each
Oh,
other?
I'm fine with
I just could buy it now. I'm not gonna mess around
Hey,
with
you,
bidding.
you got a few weeks before episode goes live. Hurry up and get
There you
yours.
go.
Yeah.
Okay, after you buy it, Al, send me the link so I can buy one too.
And
Thank
send
you.
me the link too, please.
No, but I do want to thank you. Since one of the first episodes we did, I've been saying I wanted to play this on the channel, and this is it, episode 100. Here we go.
Well, we have to ask
yeah.
we have to ask the people who are watching this if they guessed it
Yeah,
before the
did you get it?
machine.
Yeah.
I'm curious.
I would, yeah. If
Put
you
it in the
got it,
comments below if you got it.
yeah, please
Before the computer did.
before the
Mhm.
computer did, especially if you got it by the 20th question. This guy took 25, so if you got it
25.
by 20th, then you're
Nice.
better than the computer. But okay, we went. I want to thank you guys so much for being here and giving so much of your time. As I said, and I'm sure by now the viewers are like, he lied. He lied. There's no giveaway. There is a giveaway. There is a giveaway. We are getting to it right now. Jim Johnson has very kindly offered up a nice, not a nice, two nice little prize packages for this contest. Jim, would you like to say what it is so I don't talk over you?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. So, and certainly thank Modifius too. It's not just me; it's Modifius, but collectively, I am Modifius in this instance. We're going to give away 2 digital copies of the brand new second edition starter set. So, 2 of the winners will be getting beautiful digital editions of our new starter set, which should be in retail by the time this episode airs. Pre-orders should have shipped already, and it should be heading out into retail and distribution as we speak, or as this airs. So hopefully you have an opportunity to go check it out and get it. But yes, 2 lucky winners will receive digital copies. Bill, I'll leave it to you to figure out the winners and send me the email addresses, and we'll get those digital copies out to them pronto.
Thank you very much, Jim. That is extremely generous of you and Modifius. And yeah, I was blown away when you just offered that up. Just when I was asking Jim, like, okay, who should I contact about like trying to ship prizes to whoever winner is? And Jim's like, I got it. And he just jumped in with it. So I'm also adding on top, and no, this is not a punishment for the winner, but I'm also going to add, and it sounds stupid, it sounds selfish, but I'm also going to add because it's a digital set, I'm going to add the PDF of the adventure that I wrote and Jim published for STA, simply because that would never happen without this channel, without the people watching, getting me to this point, getting Jim's attention, allowing me to do it. You don't even have to play it, but just as a thank you for making it exist by watching this channel, that will be included, so you have at least another adventure that you could wrangle into the mix. So that's going on top.
In fact, you could say it would be a tribute to Bill if you win it and not play it, because Bill historically has made it clear on his channel time and time again that he doesn't like to run pre-written campaigns or adventures.
That's a stipulation. That's a stipulation. If you win, you have to promise never to play that adventure. Okay.
Never to run it.
That was a good one, Jim. I love that.
Read it and enjoy it.
Yeah. Just read it, put it down. There you go. Thank you. Now the rules for this giveaway. The rules for a giveaway. We're going to each ask a trivia question to you. And there might also be a couple bonus questions from sources not able to join us today that I will edit in after this. So however many questions we have, at least 4, you will know by far as you're watching this, you'll know for sure how many questions there are. I'll have that edited and fixed. So we will ask you 1 question each. Answer all of the questions to the best of your ability. You don't have to get them all right, but out of the answers that are emailed to the channel, TheFinalFrontiersmen@gmail.com, which I will have again down in the description, send it by the deadline, which I will also put up on the screen after I know when this episode is airing. If you send in the answers, out of the recipients with the most correct answers, similar to the 100th subscriber celebration, I'll throw it into a random generator. we'll have an announcement video where the generator will pop out on the name of the winner, or the two winners, because there will be two sets going out. So those are the rules. Again, at a later date, I will edit in the deadline that you have for it, and just answer. Do your best. That's what it's about. All right? Are we ready? Who would like to give their question first? Anyone want to kick us off? Al,
I'll go
please.
first.
Okay, please.
So the Kalon species, known for the resolution, I actually got a chance to design the species in one of our Star Trek adventure books. And they are immune to being telepathically read or emotionally read. And they have these weird lines on the side of their head. And I gave that organ a name. I actually named that organ in this book, in the species profile. I want to know what is the name of that organ.
Look.
Oh, good question. I love that. Okay, that's question number one. Who wants
Did
to
you
give...
name what book? You didn't name the book yet, right?
I did not name the book.
Did
Do
not.
you want me
Okay.
to name the book?
That's really hard, man.
Do you want me to name the book?
Well, I want to go look. That's why.
It's in the lower decks guide.
Lower decks. Okay, there's your hint. There's
Oh,
your
you
hint.
told them. I
There's
was
your
gonna.
hint.
I thought it was gonna be a two-parter. Not only do you have to figure out which book, but they also have to figure out the answer.
Al
I don't
made
know.
it made it
Looking it
easier
up.
for you. Okay, no answers on screen right
I
now.
will.
So yeah,
Yeah.
look it up for yourself. My stuff's too far away, so I can't do that. All right. Who would like to give the second? Oh, so Jim found. See how easy it was to find. All you have to do is just do a little bit of research. Al, that is awesome. That is good, and also builds the trivia for your own mind when you're playing the game too. So you have.
Look at the Easter eggs in these books you find out years later. I love it.
Mm-hmm.
All right, who's number two? Who would like to be the second question? Any volunteer? Michael, please.
Mine's much easier, I see. What is the name of Captain Catherine Janeway's dog that she left on Earth when they were stranded in the Delta Quadrant?
Oh, love that, because Michael, you're the only one that said the question that you wanted to do early, so I knew yours, and when you say it, it's like it's on the tip of my tongue and I cannot get it, and I had to go back and like watch something and like, where is it? Oh, I love that. Good answer. So we got one question so far from STA. We got one question so far from the series. Let's see what else we got. Jim, what are you throwing at us?
Yeah. So my question is for STA, and this might be a softball for the folks who've been with us from the very beginning of first edition. But for the folks that are newer to the game line, maybe this might be a little harder. Might make you do a little bit of research. But when first edition came out, we produced and released 4 quadrant books. So the trivia question is, in what order were those 4 books released?
Ooh,
Good question.
Oh,
that's good.
I like that. I like that. Oh, that's good. And that's part of the history of STA we got right here.
Part of the
I don't
history.
even think I know, actually.
Goes way back to 2018.
I know the first 2, but I'm confused on which one was 3 and 4.
I think I know the order. When we're done filming, I'm gonna have to try. Okay,
That's a great question.
that is yeah. These are 3 great questions. As I said before we start, I was debating between 2 questions. So I'm going to go with the more obscure one to add a little more of a challenge and a hunt to it. Although I'm sure plenty of people already know the answer. I'm going to put up a picture for everyone to see. I'll share it with you as well. I want to know, okay, the name of this character. So this character appeared in, depending on how you count, 124 episodes of Star Trek Voyager, more than 7 of 9, and has been there from the very beginning to the very end. I want you to tell me what is the name of this character. And That is the longest appearing extra in Star Trek history. Uh,
Even more than Morn?
even more than Morn, shockingly.
I'm shocked.
Right?
Yeah.
Makes me
Right?
happy.
Right?
Hi, my name is Natasha Warner, and I'm a professor of linguistics at the University of Arizona, where, among other things, I teach a one-unit freshman seminar on Klingon language. And I have a question for you on Klingon language. What is the loudest consonant in the Klingon language? I also want to point out, unrelated to the question, that I am wearing my Starfleet Academy Sciences shirt because on Star Trek, one of the wonderful things is that linguistics is treated as a science in the show.
Hey guys, remember me? I'm still around and I'm working on a few projects that hopefully I can bring to the show really soon. So, here's my trivia question for you. In Deep Space Nine, we get to see the life of Miles O'Brien and his wife Keiko, and of course Molly. But they also had a son. Remember that? Yes, Karen Reese did carry their child for a bit for a short story arc because Miss Nana Visitor was pregnant at the time, so they had to make things happen. So, my question is, what was their son's name?
And our last special guest question comes from Derek Tyler Attico. He is the author of The Autobiography of Benjamin Sisko, one of the best Star Trek books I've read. Links down below. Unfortunately, he was unable to record his own question, but he sent it to me to make sure it got in time. So I will do my best to relay it to you. Here is a picture of 5 captains from Star Trek. Your mission for Derek's challenging question is name the characters and the episode or movie that they appeared in, but you must list them in reverse chronological order. That means the character and their episode that takes place latest in the Star Trek timeline is first, and the character and their episode or movie that takes place earliest in the Star Trek in universe timeline would be the last. So, who are these 5 characters? What episode or movie did they appear in? And what is the order from latest in the Star Trek timeline down to the earliest in the Star Trek timeline? And again, that is in universe chronological order, not the air date of the episode or movie. Okay, so let's recap the trivia challenge. Number 1, as found in the Lower Deck sourcebook for Star Trek Adventures First Edition, what is the name of the organ on the sides of a Kalon's head? Number 2, what was the name of Captain Janeway's dog back on Earth during Star Trek Voyager? Number 3, what was the release order of the 4-quadrant sourcebooks for Star Trek Adventures First Edition? Number 4, what is the name of the character whose picture I put on screen? Now the special guest questions. Number 5, what is the loudest consonant in the Klingon language? That was given by Professor Warner. Number 6, what is the name of Miles and Keiko O'Brien's son? That was given to us by Jeremy, the previous and maybe again co-host of The Final Frontiersmen. And number 7, there was a picture of 5 captains on the screen. List the names of these 5 characters and their episode or movie title, but list them in reverse, in-universe chronological order, not the release date order of those movies or episodes. So whichever character and their episode appeared latest in the timeline is the first, and the one that appears earliest in the timeline is the last. And now the rules for entering the contest. First, you must email your answers to TheFinalFrontiersmen@gmail.com. Make sure you include either your name or at the very least a nickname that I can use in the drawing and the announcement. Second, all winners will be chosen from among the participants who answered the most questions correctly. That means you do not need to get every question correct, you just need to tie the most, and then your name is in the running. Winners will be announced in the future video, and as we are planning on 2 prize packages, there will be 2 winners. Number 3, if any of the winners do not respond or provide any necessary information within 5 days of the announcement, a new winner will be chosen. So please pay attention to this channel or your email address, as I will be reaching out to the winners that way as well. And the last rule is only 1 entry per participant, so no making multiple email addresses and dumping in multiple answers. And of course, no Modifius employees or associate of this channel is eligible to participate. So sorry, Next Frontier crew. Aside from that, all entries must be received by 11:59 p.m. Japan Standard Time on January 26th, 2025. So check what time that is in your time zone. It will be earlier, I'm assuming, for most of you. So please check. It's not 11:59 p.m. January 26th your time. It's 11:59 p.m. Japan Standard Time on January 26th. So good luck. Get your answers to the channel. Do the best you can. And I hope you're a winner. Before we close off, anything you want to just plug, promote, draw people's attention to before we draw the curtain on this? Al, would you like to start? I'm pretty sure you know something for sure.
Yeah, I mean, as this is releasing, either my Kickstarter for Sentience has just begun or it's going to be coming very soon. So please head on over to Kickstarter and look for Sentience 2D20. We're really excited for what we're putting together. Yeah, that's going to be coming up soon. Also, Once Upon is on DriveThruRPG. I just released the first expansion for that, A Believer's Guide to the North Pole, which we released just before Christmas. And yeah, so check them out. And obviously, there'll be more Star Trek stuff coming in the future.
Yeah. Yeah, and the links will be down below. Anyone interested, especially for Sentience Kickstarter, check it out. Watch the video on the channel. It is awesome. And also, I'll link to the continuing conversation where you talk about incorporating Sentience into STA in just the most spectacularly elegant way. So, perfect. Check that out. Michael, anything you would like to promote here?
Sure. Yeah, you can always look at my website, michaeldismuke.com, and that covers not only the Continuing Conversations podcast that me and Jim run every week, but it also has the links to the Continuing Missions blog and also to any upcoming events that I'm going to be participating in. I like to plug, because it's for donations, Trek Talks on January 18th. I think this might be out before that, I hope. But on January 18th, I'll be hosting a panel with the writers of the autobiography series from the ones that include Sisko and Kirk, Spock, and all the other captains.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm thinking ahead. But I'll be with Derek Tyler Attico, interviewing him, Una McCormick, and also David. Every time I want to say Jonathan, David Goodman. Thank you, David Goodman, the writers of those books. And it's for charity, which is really cool. It's for the Hollywood Food Coalition, and it runs on January 18th live on YouTube. John Billingsley takes the lead on that, and also Bonnie, the voice of the computer in Prodigy. Just if people want to join that, they could do that and donate some dollars to the homeless, which is always a good cause. And that's on January 18th.
And Michael, I'll make you a promise that if the editing goes slow and it's not out by that time, I'll post it as a post on the channel. So at least I'll get the information out there. So thank you very much.
I'll appreciate that.
Jim, would you like to take it away then.
Sure. Yeah. So, of course, thanks to all the fans. As always, your support is invaluable. We are grateful for you every day. I'm grateful for you every day. The game would not be here after 8 years without you. So, thanks for everything you do. And pay it forward, right? As of the airing of this episode, the starter set should be out in retail or very close to out in retail. We priced it as a loss leader. So we were intentional about making it cheap as possible to get it into as many people's hands as possible so that you can go run it for lots of people, get more players into it, show them how awesome the game is, show them how creative they can be, telling stories with their characters and having fun as a group together at the game table. Michael and Al wrote parts of it. Merrick Moyer wrote the third part. It's going to be a lot of fun, I think, for conventions and for tabletops and for just getting people into the game, getting people into the franchise, show them how awesome Star Trek is and how it can be a wonderful alternative to some of the other games and pursuits out there. So check it out. And that's all I really want to plug is just also go to the website, sign up for the mailing list because that's the newsletter, because we have lots of releases for second edition coming out over the course of this year and next year, and you want to be informed. So go to the Discord, go to the Modifius Discord, go to the fan Facebook channel, hit up continuing missions for more fan stuff. If you're just not getting enough content from the official channels, go to hit the fans because they're producing awesome content. They've been producing awesome content for 8 years now, and there's no sign of it ending. So there's lots of resources out there for you gamers. So go forth, go boldly, and have fun.
Yeah, thank you. And thank you again, the three of you. Like, the channel wouldn't be the same without you all and your support that you've shown from day one. I said it before, I say it again, I love all three of you. I'm glad you're here. I'm always happy to talk with you. And I hope it gets more and more as the years go on. But time to wrap it up. Again, thank you for watching. Those of you who decide to stick it out to the end, please send your answers to the email address, TheFinalFrontiersmen@gmail.com. Do your best. Again, you don't have to get them all right. You just have to try to get as many right as you can. And also, if you did get the answer to 20Q before the computer did, please write that down in the comments below. We're dying to find out which one of you has the computer brain. But that's it for today. Thank you so much. As always, stay safe out there, my friends. Live long and prosper. Peace and long life. See you next time.
Red alarm, red alarm, red alarm, red alarm, red alarm, red alarm.
Hello and welcome to The Final Frontiersmen, a YouTube channel about all things Trek. I'm Bill, and today I will be reviewing... Hello, hello, hello. Testing, testing, testing. Hello, hello, hello. Checking this, checking that. Testing, testing. There we go. I'm Bill, and today I will be reviewing one of the first. It is the first. I don't know about one of the first. God, why can't I do this? Testing, 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 testing. Some things that were not included in the original core rulebook because of space reasons and blah blah blah. Boo, boo, boo. Today I am doing a review of. Nope, I'm not. Bird. I'm Bill. God, I'm so bad at this. I'm your host Bill, and today we are looking at the next Quadrant source book in the lineup. This time it is the Alpha Quadrant source book, right? It is, yeah. I'm stopping this material. I'm Bill, and today I'm going to be reviewing and talking about a very long overdue and just your straight up fighting on this chapter that I'm done. I'm so done. This is the game toolkit. This is Kip. Oh God, this is like my 10th try. I forgot what I was going to say. That was a pretty good opening, but I forgot what I was going to say. Let's see here. Oh yeah, I remember now. I'm gonna restart.